So update 1.0.5 is finally here, and we got the full patch notes from the developers. So let's take a deep dive into what they added. So we all know by now that they did add the ultimate Valby, and with ultimate Valby they added some modification modules that you guys might want to pay attention to because these sound pretty cool. Now spiral tidal wave is one of them, and it's called the bouncy bubble, has been replaced by a projectile that flies in a straight line. Now spiral tidal wave is stackable and can be fired 3 times in a row. This actually sounds really cool. Now they also have one called hydro pressure bomb. Instead of plop plop, she leaps forward and deals damage to enemies around the landing area. The more enemies in the laundry state, the more powerful the damage. So definitely something for you guys to keep an eye out for, especially if you guys are going to be farming for ultimate Valby. They also added the new descendant Luna. She is the new descendant that they were adding for this update. Now they did go over Luna's skills. They talk about her passive skill. While using any skills, it increases inspiration gauge, which allows Luna to use enhanced skills. Her first active skill is Stage Presence. Using the skill changes Luna's weapons to a unique ability, performing the notes in time to the music by using skills or hitting monster stacks and increasing her skill power modifier. Her second skill, Passionate Stage, using the skill makes Luna play upbeat music, increasing the skill power modifier of Luna and her allies. Gaining the enhanced effect increases the skill power modifier even more and also increases the skill critical hit rate and damage of allies. Her third skill, Relaxing Act, using the skill makes Luna play relaxing music, hitting the enemy with a note grants an effect that instantly recovers the MP of Luna and her allies. Gaining the enhanced effect increases MP recovery and reduced skill cost. And her fourth and final skill, Delight Stage, using this skill allows Luna to play delightful music, hitting the enemy with a note increases inspiration gauge and decreasing the skill cooldown of allies. Gaining the enhanced effect increases the inspiration gauge even more and immediately resets the cooldown of allies. So her skills actually sound pretty cool, and especially if you want to buff your teammates, I can see some people running some pretty cool builds with this. Now they continue on with her modification modules. Nimble Footsteps, the modification module enhances Luna's movement speed and amplifies the effect range of her performance, making it easier to support her allies. And then she has one called Noise Surge, transforms all of Luna's skills to combat skills, performing the notes in rhythm, unleashes powerful AoE attack. When the inspiration gauge is full, it summons a moving stage where she dances to recover MP and shield. And I kind of want to see how this one plays out because it looks like you can go from a support player to a full offensive player, and I kind of want to see how this Noise Surge module works. Now they did add a new hard void intercept battle called Gluttony, and there is a new external component set that is tied to this called Hungry Sonic. Now the 2-piece set affects toxic resistance. The 4-piece set grants an effect that recovers MP on hitting the target with a skill's unique weapon, as well as an effect that increases skill duration and MP heal modifier proportionate to the max HP. Now they did add a new ultimate weapon called the Peacemaker. Now using a dimension skill grants the single reload for peace effect. At maximum stacks, the single reload for peace effects enables you to fire the loaded weapon in a single quick burst when taking an aimed shot. They did add a new module, Archy Concretion, decreases movement speed, firearm attack, and all attribute attack except for non-attribute attacks every time a skill is used, but each stack of Archy Concretion increases defense and MP. And the next thing they dive into are the hotfixes that are coming to prevent module swapping from becoming a strategy in intercept battles and infiltration operations. Equipping and removing modules, changing presets, and changing loadouts are now prohibited. So it looks like anybody who was using that method to maybe one-shot bosses, it's no longer going to work. Now they did add a feature to collect all lost and found items at once in the mailbox. You can now register equipment items as attached items. Saving your preset now automatically registers equip items as attached items. That's pretty cool. You can now turn the red dot crosshairs displayed on and off sights in game. Oh, thank you. I was wondering when I could be able to do that. They changed the color of the icons from hard difficulty void intercept battles on the world map to make it easier to distinguish them from normal difficulty battles. They simplified the module combining animation. Now for Descendant modules, they increased the poison contagion range of Freyna's Room Zero trauma from a 4 medium radius to a 7 medium radius. They also increased the maximum scaling range of Valby's skills from 200% to 250%. They increased the maximum scaling range of Blair's skills from 200% to 250%. They changed the blizzards generated by Viesa's Glacier Cloud module to be triggered instantly without delay. They increased the amount of voice shards that can be acquired from special operations by about 7 times. Now there was a director's comment on this, and they said hotfix 1.04 added void shards as rewards to special operations, but unfortunately there was just too few. The original intent was to keep void fragments as the primary farming source for void shards, but get additional void shards from special operations. But the community has told us that many of you don't like the loop, so we increased the amount of void shards that you can be earned in special operations. I think this is a win-win. Now they did say many players are currently farming materials without spending the fragments at the fusion reactor, so we're considering removing the fragments from the fusion reactor startup altogether. This would make the fragments necessarily only when the reconstructing device is used at the fusion reactor. If you guys know, that's what allows you to unlock the amorphous material that you have. They say they're keeping a close eye on how the reward loop is working, and they want all players to be satisfied, and hopefully they can have something nailed down in the near future. Now they did do something cool with the encrypted vaults. The Agna Desert, Vespers, Echo Swamps, White Knight, Hagios, and Fortress fields now have 100% chance to spawn encrypted vaults at spawn. So that's actually really cool. So you put it on private, you should always have one for sure. They had a few optimization improvements for PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Xbox Series S. Now there were a ton of different bug fixes. I don't want to go into all of them, but I'll put a full link to this in the descriptions. But there is one I do want to talk about, and it is the Thunder Cage. They fixed the issue where the ultimate weapon Thunder Cage unique effect will deal more than 1.33 times damage when monsters were clustered. Instead, Electric Shockwave now deals 2 times the damage regardless of the number of enemies. Now, the director's comment on this is, during internal testing, we discovered a bug with the Thunder Cage. Thunder Cage should always deal 1.33 times damage according to its description, but it was dealing more than 1.33 damage when there were a lot of monsters. We fixed this bug, but we also boosted the 133 to 2 times so that it doesn't become less effective. We're well aware that the value of the items you own is important to you, so to ensure fixing the bug doesn't devalue your items, we're giving it more power than we originally intended. If something like this happened again in the future, we won't stop at simply fixing the bug, but consider how to preserve the value of your items to provide a reasonable patch. There was a few other module fixes that they did along with all the bug fixes. Now, developers did have some final comments that they did want to address with us. One of them diving deep into drop rate improvement plans. I do say while all of our drop rate systems are operating fairly in the First Descendants, we do understand some players are struggling with them. To address this, we're planning to introduce a guaranteed drop system. When you're guaranteed to get the item you want after repeating the activity a certain number of times. This is actually pretty amazing, and if you guys don't see how big this is, they're definitely listening to us. They do know that the drop rates are pretty crazy, and if you grind it hard enough, you should be rewarded for it. I think that's kind of cool. The First Descendant has various missions and amorphous materials with chance depending rewards. We're considering how we can effectively implement the guaranteed drop in such a diverse reward system, and we're working to create a farming structure that players will be happy with. We hope to make improvements before long to provide a more rational and satisfied farming experience. Again, this is going to be huge for a lot of players who are a little frustrated with the drop rates, and I think this is actually really good right here. Now, they do talk about how consumables are piling up, and they said there is currently no way to dispose of blueprints for Descendants or weapons that you've already completed. So there are cases where players are getting multiple copies of blueprints or items that you already have, and I have a few of those. We've been listening to the community who have told us that there needs to be a way to dispose of these unwanted items. While we could consider simply converting them into some gold or Kuiper, We want to reward you with more value for your time you have put in. To resolve this, the dev team is planning a system to dismantle leftover items to get byproducts and rotating shop systems where you can exchange the byproducts for something of value. This will allow items you obtain to have greater value in the game. Man, where do these devs come from? Because this is actually really cool. Now, they get into a little bit of supporting build diversity. Says it's a lot of fun to see the variety of builds being posted in the community lately. We love seeing you try so many builds and are amazed by the unexpected ways you've evolved them. We hope for more builds to exist in the First Descendant, and we want an environment where players are free to experiment with different builds. However, we found that it's very difficult to take advantage of loadouts after assigning socket types. Yes, amen, I agree. Which goes against our goal of experimenting with different builds. As a result, the dev team is planning to provide an environment where completely different builds can be created by assigning each loadout with different socket types. We hope this will help you experiment with different builds without feeling overwhelmed. That's pretty cool. Now, they do get into a little bit of the balancing. I know people are worried, are things gonna get nerfed? They talk about a little bit here. It says, finally, some news about balancing. We are seeing some dominance of skill damage focused builds on some descendants. Descendants and weapons that are well suited for these builds are quite popular now. We want the meta to change from season to season. We want the descendants and weapons that are effective in new content to be different. For those in previous seasons, also, we're looking to increase the proportion of firearm-based combat in the end game. We can't promise that all descendants and weapons will be equally balanced at all times, but our goal is to keep changing the effective builds. To that end, we promise to make constant adjustments and offer different ways to play the new content. We aim to implement the improvements I talked about today during season 1 and 2. Now, I'm gonna tell you guys, so far I have loved how these devs have communicated with us, and I think they're doing an amazing job. I think what they're doing, they're constantly updating, and I can't wait to see when more new content comes to the First Descendant. I'm still grinding a lot of things in the game, but it's cool to see small things being changed, updates happening, and the game keeps evolving. So let me know what you guys think about this update, and if you guys want to see the full patch notes, the link is in the bio. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hey, Nothing But Skills out.